Good morning, everybody. I believe that we are now streaming live as well, so welcome to everybody and everybody on the live stream. I'm Gary Wells, I'm the CEO of Invovle, and a huge welcome to our AGM. To start off, I'd like to introduce Martin Round, Mr. Mayor, to formally open our 50th AGM. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, ladies and gentlemen. Well, good morning. Welcome to my office. It's not, in fact, my office. It's actually the council chamber. My office is downstairs. For those that haven't been to the town hall in the past, may I say welcome to your first visit. For those that have been here a second time, I hope you can tell me as much about the history of the building as I can tell you. If you don't know enough about the building and would like to know more, I'm happy to arrange tours at some other point of time. And I open that as an invite because when all said and done, you are included as members of the Freedom Board of this town. You have the freedom of the town of Maidstone. So you'd be more than welcome. I'd be more than welcome to give you an honorary tour of the place at some point in time. There is indeed so much history on the walls. Anyway, I'm delighted to be part of this event and be mayor to formally open the event. Invovle have been supporting the people of Maidstone and beyond for 5 decades. Here we are, 50 years. And I'm delighted to be here to celebrate that milestone. I would therefore like to thank all staff, volunteers, trustees, and all those involved at Invovle for their service to the community. You have supported countless people over the years, and you've had a real impact on both people and communities. At this stage, one of my themes of my year is community, community, community. It's also health and well-being, and I know that you all share that mission. So congratulations to everyone involved. Congratulations on 50 years. Welcome to the council chamber. And I'll now hand you over, I believe, to Richard Lester.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for the use of the facilities here. We're very, very privileged to be able to do that today. So a huge welcome as the chair of the Board of Trustees of Invovle. I stand here today after being on the board now for 14 years in December and hopefully playing a small part in the successes that you will hear over the coming hours. Today's an important day for me because it's a day that I step down from my role as chair and equally my position as a trustee for Invovle. And as I step down today after that tenure, I do so with a huge amount of pride and privilege to be able to have been part of an organisation, the organisation that has just been described in part by the Mayor. What an amazing organisation Invovle is. So today is more than just a formal AGM. You're not all here because you've got to be here or dialing in because you've got to dial in. You're doing it because you care and because you have a shared commitment in Invovle. And we're not just reflecting on the last year, as has already been said, we're reflecting on 50 years of exceptional contribution to the community, to the health and well-being of many people. So we can look back over the last year, but also take some time to reflect on 50 exceptional years. And for those of you that know the history of Invovle, it comes from very small beginnings, a very small Maidstone-based charity which helped the community in Maidstone to now what we have is a nationally capable organisation. So our terms of the organisation now allow us to operate across the United Kingdom and not just in Maidstone. So we've gone Maidstone to Kent and beyond. And for that, everyone involved in that journey should be very proud. So today we will reflect on the last year's achievements. And despite many challenges that many of you will be aware of for many different reasons, there has been increased demand in the services of Invovle. There's been increased needs from the communities. But Invovle have supported more people than ever before. And I've said that for the last 2 consecutive years, and I say it a 3rd year in a row, with even more immense amount of pride and privilege to be able to say that those involved in the Invovle journey have helped more people, improve the health of more people, and importantly, continue to innovate and create new opportunities to do things even better year on year. Now, you'll have the opportunity today to see the impact report. It is always lovely to flick through that report and see the great work that's undertaken. And there's a lot in there of the numbers, the impact and the amount of people that have had a real difference made to them. And what I would say to you all, for those in the room and those that are online, think beyond the numbers. Every single person that has benefited from Invovle has had a difference made to their life, has had an improvement made to their life, and has received support that they wouldn't have been able to access if Invovle wasn't here for the last year, but certainly for the last 50 years. And that is only possible because of the huge amount of work and dedication of many people. So I do have some thank yous to say as I stand down today, but formally to the staff of Invovle. Thank you for your resilience, your dedication and your empathy despite the challenges that you face. To the volunteers that have been mentioned already, your time, your kindness and your willingness has and will continue to make a profound difference. To our trustees, mentioned by the Mayor, your guidance, support and oversight has been first class, and you have made a difference over the many decades of Invovle existing. And of course, to our partners and funders, thank you for believing in Invovle. Some of you are here today, some will dial in, but you've had trust in the mission and the vision of Invovle, and we know now more than ever collaboration is critical, so thank you. And finally, for those who have turned to Invovle for help and support, thanks for trusting Invovle. Some of you will have personal experience in the room, online, others will have been part of that journey. But thank you for trusting Invovle to do the right thing and support you and those that you may care for. So looking ahead, I think it's fair to say it's not necessarily easy times for the sector. We talked about it last year, and I know many of you will be experiencing those challenges now. But I do have the confidence that Invovle has the strength, the resilience and the purpose to succeed and continue to grow. So I have every confidence in what we will see today, as do the Board of Trustees, that this is the start of the next chapter. And I look forward to watching from afar Invovle continuing to evolve, develop and enhance the services provided. So as a final note, thank you to you all for being here today, for stepping out of whatever commitment you had to come and listen, for dialing in, to understand what Invovle is all about and for your support. And I hope you, as I, look forward to the rest of the AGM of celebrating not just the last year, but the last 50 years of amazing work and achievement. Thank you, Gary.
Good morning, friends, partners and colleagues, and welcome to Invovle's 50th AGM. We're here to celebrate both our 50th year and our 50 years today, and I've had the privilege of serving as CEO during what has been a truly productive and inspiring year. A year in which we have supported 31,260 people. We've expanded services to unpaid carers and offered more groups based on what carers tell us that they wanted, including anticipatory grief workshops, moving and handling courses and first aid courses. A year in which we've expanded our services and reach to work with more young people than ever, putting on thousands and thousands of hours of groups for young people, both neurodiverse young people and care leavers. And a year where we've deepened our relationships with the sector, both with health and social care, but also with other voluntary sector organisations. It's a year of immense challenges for voluntary sector organisations, and a year when it would be very easy for us to move backwards and away from each other. But it's a year when actually we've embedded, and all the people that we've funded over the past few years, who we might not be able to fund moving forward, have come together and are now working much more closely. So when I first stepped into my role of CEO about 18 months ago, one of the first things I had to reflect on was, how do we celebrate our 50th anniversary? And actually, is it right for us to celebrate our 50th anniversary at all? After all, many of the people who phone us up aren't interested in whether it's our birthday or not. They phone us up for support. But after lots of reflection and after some really good conversations with the management team and the board, we realised that we had a duty to celebrate our 50th anniversary, not as a passing of time, but as the legacy for 5 generations or 5 decades that people have left the organisation, for trustees, for staff, for volunteers and for commissioners who have all helped over the last 50 years to shape the organisation into what it is today. That's 5 decades of challenging inequality, promoting choice and connecting people. So 50 years ago, in 1975, Maureen Topp became the first manager of what was then Maidstone Volunteering Bureau. She and her founding trustees had a bold vision. They wanted to make volunteering accessible. They wanted to change the perception around volunteering. And Maureen wrote this in an article in 1976 in the Maidstone Messenger, I think, at the time, that she didn't want volunteering to be just an activity for the middle classes, the middle-aged, and the Middle Englandites, I think she wrote, that she wanted volunteering to be accessible to everybody, no matter their background. They believed in the power of community way before connecting people to communities was one of the 5 ways to well-being, way before it was an outcome measure on an outcome star, and way before well-being was a buzzword. And actually, Maureen, along with lots of other volunteer centre managers up and down the country, achieved her bold vision. Volunteering is now no longer just a preserve for the middle classes and middle-aged. It's accessible for everybody. What a foundation that is for us as an organisation. That spirit of inclusion, of innovation, and of challenging norms is something that we should hold dear moving forward. One of my favourite stories from Invovle's 50 years is about 2 sisters who we supported. They lived together for many years later on in their life, and about 15 years ago, they came to one of Invovle's older people's groups through a project that we ran at the time called Older People in the Lead. They attended these activities for years, and then eventually one of the sisters became a carer for the other one, and we supported them through our carers service. A few years on from that, both sisters ended up in care homes. And the care homes were actually about 7.2 miles apart, so different care homes. They had no other family. Every week, one of our volunteer drivers drove to one of the care homes and picked up one of the sisters and drove them to the other care home for a visit. They sat in their car for 4 hours while the sisters caught up, and then they drove them back. And they did the same the following week, but to the different care homes, so both of them got an option to come out and meet the other sister. This driver did this for 5 years. No funding, no fanfare, just care and compassion. That story, to me, is Invovle Kent. It's what we do for people of all ages at a grassroots level. We unlock the potential of community to care for each other, to stay connected and to thrive. But we also have a national story. Just as Maureen and her team challenged the perception around volunteering, we challenge perceptions around the importance of community support. We believe that if the health and social care system looked a little more upstream towards prevention, towards community, we could build a society where everybody has a greater opportunity to thrive. A society that is less reactive to crisis, less programmed to crisis, and more proactive in building resilience. That's our mission. Locally, we connect people, we promote choice, and we challenge inequality. Nationally, we work to change the way community intervention is valued, funded, and understood. We are an organisation of local action and national solution. But we must also be honest about the challenges we face, as Richard said earlier on. Like many in our sector, we are navigating periods of significant change. We know that there is no money in the system. There is no money in central government, local government, healthcare systems, social care systems. In fact, I've worked in the voluntary sector for 25 years, and I've never seen a landscape where there is so little money to fund community activity. We know that this is pushing commissioners into making really tough decisions, often having to prioritise cost over quality when they're commissioning services. These changes are having a real impact on the teams, on our partners, and most importantly, on the people that we support. I want to take a moment to recognise our staff and the amazing resilience of our staff. We have staff on free services who have come to work for the last 2.5 years, knowing that actually in 2 or 3 months' time they might not have a job anymore as cuts are threatened. These staff have come to work with so much dedication and given their all day after day for our community in the light of these uncertainties. And I'm absolutely in awe of them. While these challenges are real, they do not define us. They strengthen our resolve, they remind us why our mission matters and why we must continue to advocate for a system that values prevention, not crisis, that invests in community and that puts people first. So thank you to everybody who has been part of this journey, and here's to the next 50 years of Invovle Kent. Before I sit down, I'd like to say thank you to just a few people. So thank you to all the people who have trusted, involved and used our service. Thank you to all of our staff for all their hard work and dedication in the year. And thank you to our volunteers, including our amazing board of trustees. As Richard said earlier, we have a trustee who is leaving after 13 years in Richard, almost 14 years. And I'm sure me and all of my predecessors as CEO will pass on our huge amounts of gratitude to Richard. Having Richard on your speed dial when your back is against the wall is the most lovely thing that a CEO can have. As volunteers are central to everything we do, I've asked one of our volunteers, Jean, to award a small plaque to Richard for his service to Invovle.
As a volunteer, I'm representing all of you to thank you for what you've done for the last almost 14 years, which I don't know about the rest of you, but I doubt if that many of the volunteers have done anything like that amount of time. But thank you anyway.
Thank you, that's very, very kind. And
I can't see it because it's in plastic.
I'll take it out for you a little later, but that's lovely. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you for all you do.
So over the next hour, I really hope you enjoy hearing about both some of our services and how we deliver those services, the philosophy behind them. And I'm really pleased to be able to introduce Katie and Kat from the Connect service, who are going to talk about the amazing work that they do with young people. So, thank you.
Hello everybody, I'm Katie Abson and I'm the Head of Children's Services at Invovle, and I'm here with my colleague Kat, who's one of our care leaver navigators. And we're here today to talk about our care leaver service moving forwards. It's actually really relevant that we chose moving forwards to speak about this month, because November is National Care Leavers Month. And the themes for National Care Leavers Month this year are Rising as Me, Overcoming Challenges, Transforming and Finding Your Identity. And I hope that you'll see those themes reflected through the presentation about the service that we've been providing. So our Moving Forward service is designed to support young people aged between 16 and 25 who have been in the care of the local authority. This is the 4th year that we've been commissioned by the ICB to provide a service supporting care leavers. And in January 2025, this was expanded extensively from 2 areas in Kent to all the care leavers across both Kent and Medway. Our role is to partner with the local authority to ensure that we're complementing and expanding their offer to reach as many care leavers as we can. And we've done this through one-to-one engagement, focusing not only on their health and well-being, but also their interests, their aspirations, and providing support wherever needed to ensure that our care leavers in Kent and Medway can thrive. So 127 care leavers were supported through the service in 2024 to 2025. And thinking about overcoming challenges, 52% of those had a long-term health condition and disability that they were also challenged by. And we supported 20% of the young people we supported were from ethnic minority backgrounds. 4 of our navigators, like Kat, did this by providing a holistic approach to the service. So we focused on the core areas of the care leavers' lives: health support, simple things like registering with a GP that we may take for granted, and overcoming barriers to ensure that care leavers can attend their appointments. Focusing on mental health, helping to support them with what to do in a mental health crisis, making sure that ongoing they've got links into the community provisions and that they can access support groups. We look at the very basics of life, those social needs, housing situations, helping with housing applications, making sure that all their benefits are being claimed, managing bills and budgeting. And then aspirations for the future and goals, looking at how to access employment, education and training, maybe through starting with volunteering opportunities. Essentially, we navigate care leavers to access the local authority offer and ensure that they're aware of the care leavers covenant. One of the most exciting pieces of work that we did during the year was to ensure that our care leavers had a voice, not only within our service, but within the system, and to ensure that their lived experience added value. We did this in various different ways. So they've been involved in co-designing our leaflet, which they've made incredibly more relevant, and they were really proud of the way that it will attract more care leavers to our service. They also spoke. We had 2 care leavers who spoke at the Young Adults Mental Health Conference in 2024. Self-harm group in Medway, we spoke at that, and we were told that their input there added the greatest value. And also we attended the Care Leavers Summer event. These are just some of the things that we did. And while we were adding value to the system and to our service, also for those care leavers, it helped them to build their confidence and really transform themselves in terms of personal growth. So Kat's now going to tell us a little bit, do you want me to do this? Yes. A little bit about some of the other elements of our service.
So I'm going to talk about what's usually classed as more of the fun part of our role, but actually it's really impactful for these young people, and it often breaks down the barriers with the services and also us as professionals. So we offer regular activities to our young people, which are co-designed by them to help them gain a peer support network and also do things that they wouldn't feel that they can do on their own, whether that's due to confidence or financial issues. With Christmas soon approaching, it's another time where it's highlighted they don't always have friends or family to celebrate with. So we can offer them a meal and hand out Christmas cards, which we just sometimes take for granted. After these activities, the young people provide us with feedback, so it's great for them and us just to see what they've enjoyed and to see what we can improve on. As you can see here, a lot of them are just having fun, trying something new and connecting with others. 83% of these care leavers felt better after attending an activity. They're doing these activities which often they didn't feel that they could do on their own. They find it hard to go out, and it gives them that chance to push themselves with the support of their care leaver navigator. And we also offer personal budgets to each individual care leaver. These are often under £100, but yet they make such a big impact. These are individual to each young person. Often they come to us and say, I want a gym membership or I want a boxing membership. But they're not always confident, or they have anxiety, so they can't go out. So we explore the different types of ways that we can get them to reach those goals, whether that's at-home gym equipment to start with. One of my young people was referred to me due to being isolated, struggling with his mental health and awaiting his asylum. He was struggling with his finances, so he come to me trying to find a way to feel like he was connected back to his community. When he was in Afghanistan, he used to play cricket quite often. However, once he was here, he had no belongings, he had no cricket equipment, and he was having to rely and borrow from others. When the cricket season was due to start, we managed to explore this. We went shopping, we bought him a helmet, we bought him shoes, we bought him bats, with people that actually knew what cricket equipment he needed, because I wasn't best at knowing anything about cricket. So once he was able to go to the start of the season with his own cricket equipment, he was no longer relying on other people. And he had confidence. He felt like he was part of the team. And it was so nice to hear that he felt like what the other people did. It was so normal for people just to turn up with their own cricket gear, and yet he didn't.
Thanks, Kat. And so we're really grateful to Victoria, who sadly can't be with us today, but she's one of our care leavers who offered to share her story and the impact that Moving Forward has had with us. So I'll hand over remotely to Victoria.
Before I was introduced to Moving Forwards, I was isolating myself and never leaving my house. I lacked socialisation and I felt lost and stuck. I lost hope in achieving my future aspirations. I felt hopeless due to the quality of my physical and mental health. I lacked a support network. After my PA closed me, it felt like I was alone with everything until I was allocated a care leavers navigator. My navigator supported me and helped me in various different areas. They became a main part of my support network. An example being helping me fill out my PIP claim form or setting small goals that we can both work together in achieving, like leaving the house even for a coffee with my navigator, or supporting me in completing the transport training, enabling me to take the public transport independently again. Attending the monthly bowling and food sessions, the day trips to the zoo, the aqua park or the snow sports centre, enabling me to socialise with young adults and boost my confidence. My navigator is a go-to person who connects me with service providers. Accessing services can be very overwhelming, so having someone that can support you and take some of that pressure off is invaluable. My navigator at the beginning asked for any signs they should look out for when I am feeling overwhelmed or when I am feeling disengaged. I was also able to attend forums, which showed that our voice matters. Overall, after all the support I received and all the groups I attended, I felt like myself again. I felt revitalized. I was back to being confident in myself and my abilities. I felt like I was no longer drowning in my own problems and that I could look at my future aspirations, reevaluate and work towards achieving them. I now leave my house on a daily basis and I am no longer afraid. I volunteer more than once a week and I am now looking for paid employment.
So I'm sure you'll agree that's a really powerful example of how Moving Forwards has supported one of our care leavers. And Victoria's also got her driving test this week, which will make a huge difference to her life. So we wish you all the best with that, Victoria. So I'm now going to hand over to Peter Heckel, who is the CEO at Salus. And Peter's going to talk to us a little bit about the future of care leaver support in Kent.
Good morning. Thank you very much for inviting me, and I'm slightly perturbed that I have to go after Victoria because that's actually quite difficult to follow. But in another way, it's all about what we're trying to do. And I'm here today as the CEO of Salus, which is a social enterprise helping children and young people in Kent. We've been operating as Salus since 2011. But we were employee spin-out from KCC before that, so some of you may have remembered us as Kent Safe Schools before that. So we've got about a 25 years, depending on how you look at it, history of working with children and young people in Kent. I'm not going to dwell on this because this is about you, not about us, but I think it's important to give an overview and a place of where we're coming from. As an organisation, we are about values. Our first and last thought when we work or take any decision is what difference does this make to the lives of children and young people? And when we were looking at who we were partnering with for the Kent Therapeutic Alliance, that's the same question we asked. We wanted to know who were the people who could deliver services in those specialist areas better than we could. Because actually there's no point having a partner who's going to deliver a service that isn't as good as you could do. And we looked around, and Invovle were one of those organisations who we felt could deliver services in particular areas, not in every area, most areas, we're fine, but in some areas where actually you deliver it better than we can. And that's why we asked to partner you in delivering the Kent Therapeutic Alliance. So, this has been a journey. I hate using that word, but it has been a journey, and it's been quite a complex one. It started out looking at what we were going to do and how we were going to do it. The ICB put out a tender a long time ago, back in March, was it? About then. And it was fairly short notice, as these things are, and we scrubbed around and we were looking at what we wanted to achieve, whether we could do this and how we could do it. And I know that Gary and I had a very similar thought on this, is we wanted to make sure that the community capacity in Kent was maintained. This is a large pot of money, and it did attract competition from some of the big players nationally. And actually they could come in with their size and their economies of scale and deliver a service in Kent that actually in some ways we couldn't deliver. And we needed to make sure that we had some unique selling points. And those unique selling points had to be about our local knowledge, our local experience, and our connection with the people of Kent. And that's how we chose our partners. And you can see the partners down there at the bottom. And those people are the people that we felt were the lead players in Kent in delivering services. We had to make some really difficult decisions. There were some people who we worked with and were delivering services in Kent who we felt couldn't be part of this partnership at this stage because we needed to keep it tight, we needed to keep it purposeful. And when you're writing these bids, it has to be to the point, and you cannot carry capacity because it's built on cost and on quality. And that's why we brought that in. So what is it? What is the Kent Therapeutic Alliance? The Kent Therapeutic Alliance is too many words in this. It's part of the wider mental health collaborative, and that consists of three arms. The top, the statutory services, we're looking at CAMS. So those are the people who need the statutory support. Beneath that sits two services, and we are leading, as SALUS, we are leading on both of those. So for the mild to moderate mental health needs, you have something called the Kent Therapeutic Support Service, which is funded by KCC. And then above that, funded by the ICB, which is the much larger portion, is the Kent Therapeutic Alliance, KTA. I'm going to say KTA from now on. And that's made up of both therapeutic and non-therapeutic services. And we are absolutely determined that this doesn't become CAMS light. It has to be meaningful and it has to be engaging. And so much of when we're talking, especially to those statutory services, and I apologise to any of you in the room now, there does tend to be a bit of white coat syndrome, that the therapeutic services are, the clinically informed services are the most important. They're the ones that you have to be accredited and all of those things. But actually, we're really clear that the therapeutics, the informed services, such as your service, are really as valuable. And it's about putting forward young people to the services where they get the help they need rather than a hierarchy of need. So the young people coming in will be triaged, and that triaging will be done across the partnership. So Invovle will be there at the table saying, actually, what does this young person need? And putting forward to the right place. Our aim is that any young person in Kent who is referred into these services gets the service they need at that point, is not passed around from pillar to post. There have been too many times where actually services are able to go, well, actually, it's not quite where I need that. That's, and then young people and families find that they are moved around from service to services trying to find the support they need. This has to be a one-stop shop. And that's really, really important to all of us in the partnership about that. This is going to be a journey. It is a 10-year funding programme. which is really valuable, which means that all of us have that stability for 10 years to grow and develop as a collaborative and as a service. And certainly our aim is that actually things will come out of that. It may be that various partnerships within this can develop and mature and develop new services that can be developed as part of the wider mental health collaborative and actually expand that as things come along. This is, as Gary said, a real time of challenge and change for the sector. There have been 3 times in my career since starting Salus when I've been worried for the future of the services we're going to provide. The first was when we set Salus up, which is always a challenge and a difficulty, the birth of a new organisation. The second was COVID and the COVID pandemic, when I sat there and saw funding disappear left, right and centre, staff being sent home, and was wondering how I was going to pay people. And the third is now. I have never seen such a desert of funding and support for the voluntary sector, which is why I think it's so important that we're able to come together as a collaborative and deliver these services. We couldn't do it without organisations like Invovle, and I don't believe Invovle could do this without organisations like Salus. It's only by working together that we're going to be able to sustain future for all of our services within Kent. It's too easy for those larger organisations, I'm not going to name them because you all know who they are, to come in to sweep up services and there'll be no space left for us. Either that or we end up as bid candy and client services not able to direct our own future for our communities that we're embedded with. The importance of being embedded with Kent is we live here, we work here, we know here, our children go to school here, our parents are in care homes here. That's the value of this. We volunteer as individuals, not only for our own services, but for other services. And it's that value that I think is really important to having that local knowledge and capacity going forward. We should never be alone in dealing with mental health. And actually that's at the heart of everything we're trying to do within Kent. It's about making sure, as I said previously, that every young person who is referred to the service gets a timely, supportive intervention that meets their need. And that has to be, as I said first, the first and last question we asked ourselves when working with these young people. The story of Victoria earlier was actually a complete illustration of what I meant by that. She got the support she needed from the person she needed it at the time she needed it. And that is absolutely key to everything we're doing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Peter. It really demonstrates the amazing work and the amazing power of partnerships. So Peter spoke about how we're working in partnership with Salus, and we also have a group of organisations that work in partnership with us, who we subcontract. And 5 years ago, when we won the wellbeing contract, both in West Kent and in Dartford, Gravesend and Swanley, we reached out to lots of organisations and we wanted to work with as many organisations as possible. And we ended up subcontracted in 48 organisations. And one of them sticks out in our mind. We phoned the Guru Nanak Daba Gurdwara in Gravesend and said, is there any way we can work with you? Thinking that we might just be shunned. But actually we got the warmest welcome. They opened their doors to us. They taught us about their culture. They taught us about their work. And they helped us open a door into their community so that we could help more diverse communities. And it was really eye-opening. And for me, it proves the power of different communities coming together and working together for the good. So I've been told that Jagdev, who was coming to speak to us today, hasn't made it yet, and I'm hoping that Dilwar has made it. Perfect. So I'm going to hand over to Dilwar, which has saved me skipping through about 20 slides. So I'm really pleased you're here, Dilwar. Thank you.
Hi, good morning. I got a phone call at 8 o'clock this morning from Jagdev, saying, can you step in for me? I was going to come to the AGM meeting anyway, and I said, okay. I thought I'd get here early, look through the slides and see what he's done. No, we got stuck in traffic, couldn't find a parking space, but I'm here. So whatever I do, please bear with me. I'll try my best. So my name is Diljit, Dil, people call me. My daytime job is with Gratian Borough Council, and I'm based at the Grand, which is a healthy living centre, and that's another organisation Invovle has helped with funding. And the Gurdwara, I volunteer and also work in partnership, so job and giving something back to the community. So Mr. Verdi, unfortunately, isn't here with us. He's a stage secretary and he's a well-known person. If ever you go to Gravesend, you can meet him. I'll try this. Thank you. So don't know if anybody has visited the Gurdwara, which is a Sikh temple in Gravesend. If you haven't, you're most welcome to come down. It's the biggest Gurdwara outside Europe. India, we're still debating on that, but it is one of the biggest one, and it was opened in 2010 due to the community growing. We have daily prayers constantly, 3 main big halls, always busy. Weekends, it's just queues and queues, and weddings. And that picture is actually of Mr. Verdi's daughter and son-in-law. So he was going to show you that. Got married last year. Thank you. There's lots of activities that we actually offer, and they are free because people give up their time. So we have the chemistry revision being given by a chemistry teacher. There's, if you want to learn how to speak Punjabi, you can come and learn that. We have 11 plus revision classes and maths support. Again, these are open to anybody. It's open to the wider community, not just for the Sikh community. If anybody wanted to take some support, you're welcome. Nobody will be turned away. Okay. We also do information events at the Gurdwara and work in partnership with lots of organisations in Gravesend and Dartford, and they come and promote what they do, like ADSS we work with, and there were other, Eleanor is another one that come. And there's a lot that goes on the field of the Gurdwara. So we have a big field there, which people use as walking, jogging, and that's by the wider community. In the community itself, there's a football club which is attached to it, founded in 1965, and there's lots of those sports that happen there. Thank you. We've just done the interfaith walk this weekend gone. Jagdev sits on the police advisory group, and we also, as mentioned before, we work in partnership with quite a few organisations. This is where we had a lot of funding support from Invovle, and thank you so much, because we opened a new wellbeing centre. As explained, COVID took away the old day centre, which was there running for quite a few years and funded by KCC. And that closed because once it was closed, and KCC wanted to save their funds, unfortunately. But we reopened it back in 2023, and we started some art classes from funding from Invovle and some exercise classes, and that brought the elderly back out into the community again where they were feeling isolated, and that's growing day by day. Everybody's hearing about it and now wanting to come out, and you can see the difference it's made. And again, if anybody wants to come along to see these classes, you're welcome to. There's the art class. There was an exhibition they held at the St George's Centre in Gravesend, and that's when they do the art classes. Yesterday I popped in and they were making Christmas wreaths, so there's always something new they're learning every day. And they're the exercise classes. So the exercise classes were really popular because as the older generation, they find it that they don't want to use the walking ground, but prefer to sit in as much as they can. And what happened with those classes, once they started getting off the ground, the instructor then recorded her exercises so they could actually use that the days she wasn't there. And they were really, really popular. And that's the pictures of the first anniversary of the formal opening we had this year. I don't know if anybody knows Versace. Yeah, nodding, nods, yeah. So we have tens of thousands of people that walk the streets of Gravesend in April, and that's the birth of our identity of Sikh religion that was formed back in 1699, so it's a long way back. But every year we all gather to do that, and then we get voluntary buses that the Eleanor and Aviva put on to help the elderly join in the procession. Yeah, so he's given the date for next year. You can have a stall there if it's any organisation, or you can just join and walk around. There's free food. Honestly, you can get, there's about 20 stalls there giving you free food, from pizza, from curries, from anything you want to eat, and hot teas all the way throughout. Learn how to tie a turban, they do that as well. There's lots of activities that actually take place. So put that date in your diary and do come along, 18th of April. That's it. It's just a picture there. Thank you. I will say again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much to Invovle, because without that funding, we wouldn't have seen what we've seen now. Over the 5 years of the partnership we've been working with yourselves, it's just proved to be a godsend. So really, really, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. And I know Mr. Verdi would have said it as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Really powerful stories of what can be achieved when we all work together, and really powerful stories of how communities can work together in really positive ways. There's lots of stories in the newspaper at the moment that try and divide us, and it's lovely to hear some stories that actually unite us. So really, really important. I've tried not to say it at this AGM, but I think I'm going to say it, that as a sector together we are stronger, and I believe that, and we hopefully our work with both Peter and the Gurdwara has demonstrated that. So I'm now going to hand over to Jane for her annual speech on our carer support service, one of our flagship programmes and something that we really care about deeply at Invovle. Thank you, Jane.
Hi everyone, so I'm Jane, I'm Director of Services at Invovle, and have the absolute pleasure of working with the most amazing staff teams. I'm going to talk to you today about our carers service. So just to make sure we're all really clear, who is a carer? Well, a carer is anyone that's providing unpaid care. It might be to a family member, it might be to their partner, it might be to their neighbour actually. It could be any of you here today, and it could be me. So what we need to really acknowledge is that carers are literally holding families together. They're enabling those they care for to get the most out of life, and they make an enormous contribution to society. Without people caring for each other, the NHS and social care would never cope. They can barely cope as it is. So one of the things that we really strive for at Invovle is building that culture of support and taking that out into the community as well. So we know that in 2021, there were identified 158,512 unpaid carers in Kent and Medway. So that's people that have self-identified. I think it's more than that, because a lot of people wouldn't even be able to identify themselves. And according to the census, things have changed as well. We may always think that perhaps people caring for someone are older, but actually when you look, it's actually the biggest proportion, and now the 55 to 59 age group, which I'm in. So those are people at work like me, all of you who are still working. And I just picked out one of the things from the latest Carers UK State of Caring survey, and that has found that nearly half, so 49% of carers said they have cut back on essentials. And when we talk about essentials, we're talking about things like food, heating, clothing. So it's a really stark figure and a stark landscape for people who are caring. So at Invovle, we work in the West Kent area, and we actually supported 5,860 carers. And to take what Richard said earlier, this isn't just about figures. So those 5,860 people will have had personalised support that might have just been information and advice, or actually they might have been picked up at the hospital at one of the worst points in their life because their husband's had a stroke and they don't know what they're going to do when they come out of hospital with him, and they've been supported up there by one of our staff. It might be that they actually received a carers assessment from us. So we have the delegated responsibility from KCC, and that is to complete those carers assessments. One of the things that we wanted to do was break down the barrier to people having a carers assessment. It actually sounds quite scary. So what we did was we made a series of videos, and they really show what people have benefited from. We're also, as I said, we're on site at the hospital, and we have the delegated amount of money that we can support people coming out of hospital that are caring for someone who may need some support. And what that does is ensure that people don't face carer breakdown in the community and the person then ends up going back into hospital. So I'm going to play you a video now, and I'm incredibly grateful to the carers that we persuaded to take part in this video. They invited us into their homes, and I watch this video every week. And I watch it every week because the job that I do can sometimes feel at times quite far away from direct work, although I have done that in my past. So I watch this, I watch it every Friday, and I hope that you'll enjoy it and it'll make us all think.
The roles change when you take on a caring role, from being just a wife, having fun, sharing life's experiences, to being a carer and having to think all the time about the other person, their needs. Apart from his dementia, he also had mobility problems. Breathing became increasingly difficult. In fact, that was what actually took him, was his lung disease.
I care for my husband John, who has a rare form of Parkinson's. Obviously it's a progressing complaint, so each day brings its own problems. Well, at the moment he's bed-bound because he can't pull himself up at the moment.
I'm a carer to Ogene Fego Imara. He's my son. Well, I've been in my caring role since Fego was born because he has Down syndrome. And he was born 1996. So he's going to be 29 this year, October 15. You are a mother. When you see the child, it's a special child. You just know you are going to be a carer for the rest of your life.
I was spending a lot of the time abroad, coming backwards and forwards all the time. And obviously I was here. The natural thing to do is, if you're with your parents, you lend a hand, you care. But when it got to a situation where Dad was basically going to be wheelchair bound, and Mum was heading that way, I just thought I needed to be with them. I enjoy being with Mum and Dad, and they just needed a little bit more help, so I just slotted into becoming a carer.
Caring role can be lonely, can be very daunting, because one, you are with him 24/7. You can't expect family to be there for you every time. So social services provided that support, which was very, very helpful. And they connected me to Invovle Care.
We met with, I think it was Nick from Invovle, and she came along and explained what Invovle could offer. And we were in a system, and the system was incredibly helpful.
I think I expected about the carers assessment that it was going to be in depth, what I could apply for, what I couldn't apply for, and I felt it very helpful.
Did then open my eyes up to the fact that actually, you know, I could even get a little bit of money as well. So I get an assistance there because obviously I gave up work.
I never knew what to expect. Anne was very helpful, very supportive. In fact, she made it very simple. Because you know, you hear a lot about, care assessment, they will ask you a lot of questions, many things they request, and I was expecting that, so I was a bit jittery. But when I got to her, she was really, really helpful.
From the Invovle, we've gone to a couple of their, well, they did a Christmas dinner and things like this, so we've gone to those because that way I can actually take Mum with me. The online meeting, the second Wednesday of every month in the evenings. Basically, it's an open forum.
And then you see the same people every week, so you get to know their situation, what their caring role is.
People turn up if someone's got something to unload. There are tears at times and stuff like that, but we all try and support each other.
One of the sessions that was run by Invovle, and by far the most helpful one for me, was the anticipatory grief workshop. But after Brian died and I was in that grieving process, I could sort of mentally say to myself, oh yeah, that's what she meant. That's what she was talking about. Yeah, I can see that now. And that's something I would recommend very, very wholeheartedly.
You know, I felt being listened to, which was it lifted my spirit, that I'm not alone.
My thanks to the carers that have taken part in that video. They've truly opened up their lives to us all. So building a culture of support. So what we do as well is we ask people if our service has been helpful to them. And someone much cleverer than me, Katie, our data person, has run all of the feedback and thematically analysed it. And it's really, really great feedback. But it helps us to learn what is helpful to carers, what isn't helpful, and making sure that they are receiving that culture of support. So what have they said to us? So they really appreciated having emotional support and reassurance, having someone to talk to who listens without judgment, provided comfort, validation, and reduced carers' isolation, feeling emotionally supported and cared for. The service satisfaction and our availability. There was a high satisfaction with the reliability, the professionalism and responsiveness of our staff support teams, and carers appreciated that staff consistently followed through with them. The information, advice and communication. Carers valued clear and timely and tailored information, especially through the support plans that were developed with them. The advice on navigating services and accessing resources was found to be empowering for them. There was lots fed back around carers' mental health and their well-being. Support for mental health by accessing counselling, our peer groups, and emotional encouragement was transformative and often life-changing for carers. Our support planning and our assessments. They valued the structured plans and it helped them reflect, set goals and feel more in control. Many felt empowered after that to take action. Social connection and respite has come up throughout the analysis. Carers valued peer groups, our forums where we give out information and speakers and where they can meet each other. Our rapid response funded breaks have helped carers feel connected, understood, able to rest and engage society. Trust and continuity has come out as really strong in the support that they received. Carers have told us they valued the consistent, empathetic support from our trusted navigators who followed through and stayed in touch with them. Financial support. We know that majority of carers that come to us may at times face financial issues, and you will have seen that figure from Carers UK. So help with short break funding, carers one-off payments and benefit applications have provided financial relief and improved the quality of life for carers. And really importantly, this came out really strongly about carers' identity and acknowledging their roles. Carers have told us that when they access the service, they felt seen and acknowledged, not just as caregivers, but as individuals with their own needs and worth. We also support young adult carers between the ages of 16 to 25, so very similar to the work that you've heard about from Katie and from Kat. This is one of the young adult carers talking about their experience.
I had been experiencing low moods and feelings of overwhelming stress. I had felt because I was caring for my mum, I could not live the life of a typical 18-year-old, such as socialising with friends, learning to drive and getting a job. I was referred to Invovle Kent in June 2024 by an adult social care officer who is supporting my mum. I completed my carers assessment and support plan face-to-face in June 2024 with Chelsea, my community navigator. During the assessment, we spoke of the different areas of my life and the impact caring for my mum has on me. I shared the impact on my mental health, the things I enjoy doing and my hopes for the future. Based on the information I shared, a carer's one-off payment was identified, this being a year's membership to a local trampoline park. The membership has enabled me to improve my mental health and well-being, as I now have a break from my caring role and it relieves stress. I am now also employed at the local trampoline park, so I enjoy my time spent there. I have been referred to different services, both online and face-to-face opportunities, to support my mental health and well-being, as well as being linked to opportunities to increase my skills to enable me to better care for my mum, such as first aid workshops organised by Invovle. I spoke to my community navigator about my mental health being impacted, as I did not feel I was able to socialise with my friends like a typical 18-year-old due to caring for my mum. I needed some space and time to focus on improving my mental health and well-being so I could continue to effectively support my mum. Rapid access to carer support was put in place by Invovle to enable me to have a break for 4 weeks between 5 and 9 p.m, as during this period my mum had no care in place. Through this time, my mum's package of care was being reviewed by social services to look at a possible increase in hours. This respite allowed me to improve my well-being by socialising with friends and rebuilding connections I had lost. The support I have received from Invovle Kent has helped me to improve my mental health and well-being. I now have more opportunities to engage in activities I enjoy and socialise with my friends. I'm feeling optimistic about the future and looking at job opportunities to fit around my caring role and learning to drive.
So it just leaves me to say a really big thank you to our amazing carers staff team who have worked so hard on this contract, to our networks of providers that we broker care support services to, and to the stakeholders who refer carers to us and trust us to work with them. And all the carers that have trusted us with their support, 5,860 of them. And really special thanks to the stars of our video, Jennifer, Pauline, Atake and Duncan. Thanks everyone.
Thank you, Jane. I've been sitting there with so much pride as the CEO of an organisation that works with carers in that way. And actually, I found myself getting a little bit emotional during some of those videos. This year has been, as we've talked about quite a lot, our 50th year. And in our 50th year, as well as looking at our legacy, we've asked ourselves a question. What organisation do we want to be moving forward? What legacy do we want to set ourselves? And it's led us to really think about how we tether better to the communities that we serve, how we really represent them. Martin, Mr. Mayor, spoke earlier on about how important community is. We feel the same as at Invovle. So we started to look at how we can really embed ourselves into communities and embed communities into the work we do. And Clara has led on that piece of work for us. So I'm really pleased now to introduce Clara, who's going to talk to you about our philosophy and about retethering ourselves to our communities. Thanks, Clara.
Thank you. So hi everyone. For those of you who I haven't met before, I'm Clara and I'm Head of Engagement and Partnerships. And as Gary said, I just wanted to give you a bit of an update in terms of the approach we've taken to our engagement work and where we see it going. So at Invovle, we don't just see engagement and participation as activities, as tick box exercises or nice to have. They really form part of our culture and are really, really central to our commitment of working in partnership with individuals and communities to tackle issues and tackle inequalities. And underpinning all of our engagement work is our genuine belief that lived experience should be heard and valued wherever decisions are being made. So we see that the case internally, so when we look at the decisions we're making within Invovle, where lived experience should be central to how we design, deliver, improve and implement our services. But we also see that as the case across the wider system where lived experience should be being taken into account, and we see our role as facilitating that, bringing down barriers and amplifying the voices. So across both of those areas of engagement, we have the same baseline, the same framework that we work towards, and we call it the LEAF framework because it's a lot easier to say, but it's the Lived Experience, Engagement and Employment Framework. So this was a framework designed by the Integrated Care System, and it was actually designed to give a baseline to how Kent County Council, Medway Council and NHS Kent and Medway do their engagement work. But for us at Invovle, what it's done is given us a really consistent baseline to all of our engagement work. It's also provided us with some really key definitions, which is really, really vital in this area of work. There's a lot of overuse of language and a lot of misuse of language, which is actually watering down the power that lived experience should be having. So it gives us those kind of key definitions to work towards. It's also really strengthened the way that we're reviewing, evaluating and capturing our engagement work, which is really, really vital to making sure that everything that we do is meaningful, that we're avoiding that tokenistic practice and that we aren't over-engaging. It's also helped us to unify the way we work within Invovle. As you've heard by now, we do have quite a number of different services and they all work in quite different ways to support the communities that they serve, but it's really, really important that we're working to the same best practice standards across engagement. And it's also helping us contribute towards a unified system. So if we want lived experience to be taken seriously, it's really, really important that everyone across the system is working to the same standards to make sure that those with lived experience are given the respect that it deserves. So firstly, starting off with what we've been doing internally. So one of the main focuses we've had recently has been on our employed lived experience. This can often be a really overlooked area of engagement. I think a lot of organisations are quite quick to think about service user steering groups and forums and advisory panels to try and incorporate lived experience, but actually a lot of organisations can ignore the fact that one of the best ways to do it is to just employ those voices within the services. It's something that we've been quite proud of at Invovle. We've always had an idea that we do have a lot of employed lived experience, but this has been information that we've kind of held informally, so just through knowing our team members, knowing our colleagues. But we wanted to formalise that and really understand the extent and location of lived experience within Invovle. So we've carried out our first ever organisation-wide lived experience survey, and we had an absolutely phenomenal response. I think we were all expecting fairly good responses, but so in total we had 47% of staff, so just under half of staff taking part, which for the first time we've ever done this, and considering no one is ever required to share information about their lived experience, that was a pretty phenomenal response. And even more impressively, 96% of those staff who took part identified as having relevant lived experience, which was much, much higher than we'd anticipated. So I promise you I could talk about this for hours, but I've just picked out some of the kind of highlights from the data. So we heard from staff across 11 different teams within Invovle, which was a really good indicator to us that we were hearing from kind of the whole width of the organisation. And we also heard from, so 82% weren't in management positions, 16% of staff were in management positions, which included senior and executive management levels. So it showed us that not only was that lived experience embedded across the organisation, but it was also embedded and carried through the whole organisation. We also asked individuals about the relevance of their lived experience, and everybody, so 100% of the staff who identified as having lived experience, confirmed that it was relevant either to the communities that their teams supported. So that could be, for example, someone working on the carers team identifying as an unpaid carer. Sorry, I've lost my train of thought. Yeah, so 100% said that it was relevant to the communities their team supported, or to the communities we support a bit more widely across Invovle, or to a combination of both. So it showed us that we had a real kind of representation across the organisation. We also looked into timeframes to try and see were we employing people who had lived experience that was all from their past, or to see whether it was ongoing. We had a really good spread again, so just under half reported that their experiences were still ongoing. 31% said it was from their past, and then 22% indicated that it was a combination of both. We also were really keen to hear from people about the impact that experience was having on their role. And we were really pleased to hear that for a lot of staff, it had been the kind of motivating factor behind either them wanting to take on a supporting role or to work for Invovle. And a lot of staff also mentioned that it gave them either more empathy, understanding, or a combination of both. But rather than me talking on that too much longer, we've had two staff members who have been really open and willing to share their stories. So firstly, we're going to hear from Jackie, and then we'll be hearing from Ben in their own words on the impact it's had.
I have been working with carers for 17 years. I brought with me experience of working as a support worker with the crisis mental health team, which gave me insight and understanding into mental health issues and different ways of helping those who are struggling in this area. I have lived with hearing loss for 30 years and am able to use my lived experience to better understand and advise carers or those they are caring for who are managing hearing loss. Just last week, one carer said that it had been invaluable speaking to someone who could not only give advice but who genuinely understood what she was struggling with. I also have lived experience of caring for a family member with autism, dyslexia, anxiety and depression. I am constantly using the knowledge and skills I have learned over the years to help carers dealing with these difficulties. Each case is different, and I often learn something new, but having lived personal experience definitely helps to guide my thinking and conversations. I feel the lived experience I have brings value and an extra depth to the support that I offer to carers.
My name is Ben Harmon. My role is a dynamic support advocate as part of the Dynamic Support Service Commission from KCC, and our role is to provide practical and emotional support for under 26s with complex autism and learning disabilities who are in crisis, usually in direct pathway to Tier 4 hospital admission, and our role is to try and provide community support to avoid that where possible, so that they don't spend ages in hospitals. My lived experience is in mental health, neurodivergence, both ADHD and autism, suicide, addictions, alcohol and drug, gambling, impulsive behaviours, caring. My lived experience has impacted my role with Invovle by being able to provide me with practical experience of what the young people I help support are going through, an understanding of how their mind works in a lot of cases, and an empathy to their struggles, both internal and to the wider system that has often let them down, which helps me build rapport with them, build trust with them, and be able to help make influential changes with professionals and existing networks. How it connected me to service users? Well, by giving me an understanding of how they are, and that they also know that I struggle in a similar way to them, it's helped build trust and connection very quickly. In most cases, it's helped us be able to communicate using language and comparatives that most people wouldn't understand because they don't think the same way. They don't see the world in the same way. And it influenced me to apply for the role, partly because the role required lived experience, but also I want the world to be better after I leave than how I came in. And if I can make some people's lives a little bit better with my experience, then I want to. I don't want other people to go through the same problems I did. And if I can make any impact on that, then I will.
So I think that perfectly summarises the power of lived experience and the immense value that it brings. So a huge thank you to Ben and Jackie for those messages. As I said, we don't just focus on kind of within the world of Invovle when we're looking at engagement, so we're also constantly looking externally to try and amplify the space that's given to lived experience. So we spend a lot of time mapping and identifying engagement opportunities, so that could be consultations, engagement projects, it could be health research that's going on locally. We also spend a lot of time promoting those opportunities to individuals who may be interested in taking part, and we do that through a number of different channels, so through our different newsletters, forums, social media channels, through direct conversation with people that use our services as well. We do also deliver engagement projects, which gives us an ability to really maximise the involvement and break down as many barriers as possible so that everyone who wants to have their voice heard is able to have their voice heard. And we also spend a lot of our time focusing on appropriate compensation, which is a really, really huge part to engagement work. A lot of times all organisations will offer is compensation for travel costs, which just doesn't go far enough. It doesn't acknowledge the value and the skill that lived experience is bringing. So this is another sort of large area of our engagement work. So this is very much not the end, it's the beginning of this work, so we've got huge, huge plans to keep driving all of this forward, to keep maximising that engagement and making it as meaningful as possible. And I just wanted to highlight some of the opportunities that we're looking at the moment. So we want to ensure that our planning is really consistent, so we want to introduce new processes that will take us through all of the relevant considerations when we're actually at that planning stage of our engagement. We're also looking a lot at our feedback at Invovle, trying to introduce new ways, better ways of capturing formal and informal feedback, and also introducing more of those feedback loops so that people aren't just endlessly giving you feedback, but actually can see where it goes and what happens and hold you accountable for it. We're also looking at our employed lived experience still, so we're continuing to analyse the responses that came back, especially around how we could better recognise or support those with lived experience. And we have also made our lived experience survey annual so that we can keep that data as relevant and up to date as possible. We're also continuing to look for new opportunities, new ways for people to get involved in engagement, so we'll continue that mapping exercise that we do, and we're also looking at establishing a network of service user groups within Invovle to help feed into all of our services. We're also working on reviewing all of our current engagement activities to make sure that we really have kind of a sense of what we do, what we're doing well, and that helps then with kind of learnings going forward. We're also focusing a lot on recruitment to make sure that we review our recruitment practices so that we can better prioritise lived experience and to make sure that we can maximise the number of designated lived experience roles where possible. And we're also continuing to hold ourselves to alignment with that framework and identify new ways that we can make sure our work complies with those best standards. So that's the end of our current plans, although I think they will probably continue growing, and I do really urge anyone here who has any sort of thoughts, feedback on any of this, please do come to us. It's very much an open conversation, and we've got a real kind of driving force behind this, so we do please want to hear from you. And I just wanted to also end by saying a huge thank you to everyone who has so far been so open and willing to share their lived experience with us, because genuinely this would not be possible without you, so just a huge, huge thank you.
Thanks, Clara. An amazing piece of work. Today, we've been able to demonstrate just 2 of our services to you out of the 21 services that we currently run at Invovle. And just 2 approaches, our partnership and lived experience approach. We have many different approaches also to the work we do. So today, I hope that we have honoured our past, but we're also here to recommit to our future with hope, ambition, and a deep sense of responsibility. So as we welcome in the next 50 years, I hope we can do so with the dedication that our predecessors have done. I want to thank a few people. I would especially want to thank all of our speakers. We employ staff not for their amazing orator skills. Our staff aren't actors, and actually, they're frontline staff often who work with people, and they've come up here and given absolutely immense and amazing presentations today, and I'm really proud of them all. So thank you, Katie, Kat, Peter, Del, Jane and Clara for your amazing presentations today. We're going to take a short break now, about 15 minutes, and we're coming back at 20 past 11. And at 20 past 11, we have our formal part of the AGM. I said it the year before last, we did it in about 12 minutes. Last year, we did it in about 16. So it's not a really long meeting. It's just a short meeting that we have to go through legally as a registered charity every year, where we vote in trustees and we go through our accounts and hopefully adopt them. So we'd love you to join us for that. There is some tea and coffee and nibbles in the back room here. And for anyone joining us on our live stream, you'll get a hold-in slide come up on your screen that will show you that we'll be back for a break in about 20 minutes. So you can go and make your own nibbles and cup of tea at home or in the office or wherever you're watching us. Thank you so much for your time today. We hope that it's been an absolute privilege to share the work that we do with you all. And we hope you've enjoyed it. There is so much more to what we do, so please do get in touch. We're desperate to tell you about all the other services, so please do get in touch with us. Please do come and speak to our staff during the break. The carrot on the stick is that if you stay for our formal AGM, there's a light lunch afterwards. So a bit of encouragement to stay and hear that formal bit. But thank you to all our speakers and thank you to everybody who's attended and listened to us. Thank you very much.